Well, everybody, I want to give a little update on what's happening on the truck. I'm waiting on some deliveries to come in. It's what's happening on it. The previous engine gasket set that they sent me was the wrong engine gasket set. Like I say, I'm glad that they credited me back on that, and but I'm having to wait for the correct one to come in before I can proceed. I'm ready to put this cover on, new water pump. I've got new pulleys right here for this, but I got the old one sitting there. But ready to start going back together with the motor, but I'm just waiting. But earlier, my radiator fan shroud came in, and let me grab that radiator, I'll show you that. So earlier this little shroud came in, but this will go in here on it, and bolts right there, that little ear bolts in right there. Came with the hardware right here, and then here in this box is the large radiator fan that'll go on here. Sorry there. And here's the large radiator fan that'll go on here. So just wait, and I want to change brake lines. I ordered a tool and fittings that came with some brake line with it. It's copper nickel line, really good for being near salt water. And then I ordered an additional roll of line and fittings. So it has came, that copper nickel additional roll, but not the one with the tools, but it does have fittings and all in here. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, this is a little follow-up on what's happening on the truck. These projects are not always easy in the Philippines, and sometimes getting certain parts can be a real pain in the rear. Cover up here, or cover with you some things that came in. The other day, this package came in. This is copper nickel brake lines and fittings that are resistant to the salt water. This wasn't enough for how much I need, so I had bought additional package of this that also included this double flaring tool set. So I had a single flaring tool, but I didn't have a double flaring tool that has these, because these brake lines have what they call a double flare on them. So it came with one package of tubing and fittings. It came with the tool here, which I had this tool and I had this tool, but I didn't have these pieces, so I had to buy the whole kit. And I had a tubing cutter, but that was just part of it. And it came with a bending tool as well. And I did want the bending tool without a doubt. So that came in, and I can go ahead and be working on the brake lines. I need to do that before I drop the motor back in anyway. Also had this thermostat housing to come in, and the thermostat that you can see in here. This original housing they don't offer. So the deal is, you see this has it would be up like this, and it has a radiator cap on it, which is kind of silly. At least it's kind of silly in my book, because your radiator has a water fill neck and a radiator cap also. And this goes to an overflow. This one didn't have an overflow, at least not hooked up on my truck. And they eliminated that. I could not find an original like this, but I could find the one without it, and that's really what I want, because I want to clean this up. This particular housing here has been discontinued. The whole housing, not just thermostat housing, but discontinued. And the replacement for this is different also. But I'm having a little trouble even getting a replacement, so I may have to reuse this. And being that there's a line right here that's pretty corroded, I may have to cut, drill that out, thread it, and put a nipple in there. And the same thing up here too. But this one don't matter, because all this eliminated with the new one on there, which I think will be so much cleaner. But I'm kind of stalling, hoping that I'll get the replacement that doesn't have some of these fittings that I no longer need. And I can have a cleaner install. But worst case to worst, I can even, if one of these I don't need, I think it's this one, maybe I don't, I could also drill it out, tap it, and plug it. And I have taps and plugs here. But things have really changed, and let me talk to you about that. This project, just a few years ago, would have not been feasible here in the Philippines. It is such work, especially again, I'm not up in Manila. They got a lot more available, but that might as well be in another country, I'm telling you. It's a hard to get parts. So they want an example. They want you to come in with an example of the part. They don't really go with computers, and you know, you're not walking into like a Napa, an O'Reilly's, AutoZone, you know, all of those favorite things everybody knows. You're not going to meet the Pep Boys. And you won't see Manny Mo or Jack. You might see Hey Joe. So it can be difficult sourcing parts. And you can spend so much time hopping little mom and pop parts houses, one after another after another. There ain't no like checking ahead usually. And they want you to bring that old part, that example in. And they're going to mic it and spec it and, you know, search. And you're going to sit there at the countertop in the heat. And then they're finally, after you wait it forever, they're going to say, sorry, sir. You're going to go on. And ordering the parts online used to not be available either. And let me give you an example of that. Years past, Mel and I did the brakes on this truck because we were doing a lot of mountain roads and stuff, even some roads that was incomplete. And of course, you want really, really good brakes. So the front calipers on this truck, there are 4 piston calipers. They have 2 pistons on the back side. They have 2 pistons on the outside. Clamps from both sides. Most of your cars only have like 1 large piston on the inner side. And not this though. It's quad piston. And my calipers were having some sticking and leaking and all that. Could not find replacements anywhere. You could go to every parts house. Like I said, we spent literally days exhausted, wore out, seeking out those calipers. And it was just no. We went to auto repair shops. Can't get it, sir. So finally, we went to this one shop up in Molo, pretty nice place. It's got like, I think it's called Maxis. We went to Maxis. And they had a mechanic there, really smart Filipino guy. I mean, you could tell he had his crap together, man. I mean, he did. Excuse the inference of language there or whatever, but he had his stuff together, okay? And he was a really cool dude. And he said, I can't get those. And I can't get a rebuild kit for those, but I can rebuild them. And he said, I'll bore them out. I'll oversize them. He knew what pistons to use from another caliper, and that he'd have to go around and machine a special O-ring slot and all, and these other pistons to make it work. And he gave me a price. Sounded good. It's like the only choice I had anyway, right? And I left it with him. He was there for days. And I come back by there to see him. And meanwhile, I dropped in one time to see him. And he said, oh, you know, sir, I looked. And look at this U-joint back here. And look at this and look at this. And, you know, why it's just sitting here and I'm waiting for this other stuff at the machine shop and all. Can I go ahead and fix all these items? And he took me in there and it's up on a lift, and I looked for sure. That's exactly what it needs. He's not BSing me at all. This guy really was professional, really professional. And so he fixed all that, and then he called me and he said, sir, your brakes are done. Come pick up your truck. You know, this is the amount. Man, the amount was so good. And those calipers have served us ever since. But right now, I can go on Lazada and buy those calipers new on there now. They're right there all day long, every day. The quad calipers for this truck right here. There they are. Before replacement radiator, you would just about be having to pay some shop to like repair your radiator or build you off one from parts from yours and maybe another core and all that. We've been through all this. It just wasn't that easy. you would have more luck a lot of times on Mitsubishis, because a lot of the Mitsubishis that was sold in the country for a long time were actually built right up in Manila. There was a Mitsubishi plant there. So Mitsubishis were super popular here in the Philippines because of that. Just like Ford trucks are so popular in the Hispanic market because a lot of Fords are built in Mexico. And so like they are really in love with the product they help build. And so you would have better luck with the Mitsubishi than anything for getting parts before in the day. They closed that plant down. So that was that. But just chasing down parts, unless you just had like, the regular old, like Tamaraw truck or, van looking thing or this and that. Some of the things that was sold brand new at dealerships here for a while and all, you might get parts for. But something that was imported, like this, was imported from Japan. The parts can be tough for unless some of those parts cross over to another vehicle that was available here. Thus, they want examples. So that's the deal with that, and that's why it makes it so much easier now, because now I can get on Shopee, I can get on Lazada, I can get on Facebook, these sellers like up in Manila that are advertising, not on Facebook Marketplace and Facebook ads, and you can contact them, and then through Messenger you can exchange images, and it don't always work out perfect, but it's way better than it was. And then you got Alibaba, and you've got manufacturers in China, and some of them are making some really nice stuff. In the beginning, Japan was like China. They built junk years ago, and they were mocked at anything you bought from Japan. Oh, that's going to be junk. And then they become revered as like, you want quality, you buy Japanese. They upped their game. They got started with the junk, but then when enough cash flow come in, they upped their game and they became leaders. And the same thing happened in Taiwan. And Taiwan ended up with more respect than mainland China because they were turning out pretty damn good stuff. South Korea, in the beginning, like Hyundai and Kia, they were a laughing stock, man. You bought a Hyundai in the U.S., it wouldn't make you no time, it'd fall apart. Man, they were a laughing stock, and you think they would have just tanked. But they regrouped, re-engineered, and then all of a sudden came back out with Hyundais and Kias. And like I remember what really changed the game for them is all of a sudden they came out with a new model while they were still a laughing stock, saying you get a 10-year, 100,000 mile bumper to bumper warranty if you bought a Hyundai. What? That's the car that was known breaking down, and people start taking that gamble. Hey, they're going to give that kind of warranty. And, it was a way cheaper price than the mainstream vehicles, too. And they started buying them, and they were good cars, and they had really upped their game. And, the checkers moved on the board, And the same thing is happening like with China and in India. India's buying up major European and American brand names, and so's China, but they're upping up their game, and they're building more and more high quality stuff. Now listen, this conversation is not trying to be pro-China. I'm just explaining and I'm not being negative China. I'm just explaining what's going on. The pistons that I just got from China for this motor are absolutely impeccable. Man, I have checked them out top to bottom again and again, and man, how well engineered are those? Really good. So, the game changes. It absolutely changes. A lot of times it all starts out with just trying to get your foot in the door and cash flow. I'm not trying to get into geopolitics or nothing like that. But for over here in the Philippines, I'm not talking about the West. I'm talking about right here in the Philippines where I'm living, which is a neighbor to China. It has really changed that now this project is feasible. It wasn't feasible before. My only option would have been find a donor motor before. Like, I have a wrecked vehicle, something they're parting out still had a good motor. Or if you got really lucky, an imported engine if you could find one. And this particular motor is not easy to find on those imports. So so there you have it. And then you got to follow all this paperwork and keep up with it from the Philippine government, because they're really strict on engine changes or color changes too. And so yes, this project is only feasible because the progression that the Philippines has had on the global stage. Amazon also. There is actually, even though I can't find a lot of parts for this truck on Amazon, being that it was marketed as a forerunner in the United States, but gas only, so, you know, 85% of the stuff won't work for what I need. But things like window regulators, weather strippings, door handles, window switches, you know, all those type things. A lot of that stuff is interchangeable, and now I can buy it on Amazon and get it here. So I'll repeat again, this project would have not been feasible just a few years ago. I'd say within 3 years ago, this would not be happening. And I would have probably just been looking at just abandoning this truck, getting rid of it or something if I couldn't find a donor motor. So that is the deal with that. So this is the update on the truck. And I'm just in a hole, you know, like powder and hole with an aircraft. I'm on hold and waiting for everything to come in. But I do have the brake line stuff. That is a necessary project. Let's look at that real quick. And then, sorry if this isn't like a video really showing work, but it's part of it for the understanding in the series. So this was a right hand converted to left hand drive truck. When they moved, let me move this power steering reservoir here. When they moved the brake booster over, I don't want that thing to leak fluid out, so I'm trying to hold it up straight. You see this bracket not put back where it belongs? You can see the holes. You see that it should just go up and go on those 4 bolts there with the master cylinder, but it didn't. And why? Because the lines are all done janky, you know? And they won't reach, and they're not bent properly. And just look at that mess across the firewall and down. And that one's brazed together right there. You see that brazing? One of them's brazed together. I didn't even know that till the day when I was peeling wrapped up rubber like that right there off, and I'm like, what the heck? So this is why I'm gonna be down here redoing it, doing the proper little curls on the lines and getting the right lengths and getting the line tucked up where it's actually supposed to be and putting that bracket up where it's actually supposed to be. So at the same time, some of these lines underneath were already affected by the salt air here. And that's why I bought replacement copper nickel that won't be affected like that. I want to tell you, you can't just put straight copper near salt. Man, it's really corrosive also. But this is a copper nickel alloy. You can also use stainless steel, but it needs to be 316 because 304 still got steel impurities in it, and it will definitely corrode too. So copper nickel alloy is the best bet for right here. And these saltwater conditions, and if I was to drive it near salt, or like I'm going to be backing the boat up down to the water with this truck more because it sits higher and the rubber tires are thicker, less chance of water making contact. But it's going to be right back there catching a lot of sea spray. Of course, I'm going to have to wash it a lot. But again, that's why I'm going to make sure I do these upgrades. Well, as I was just recording this to you guys earlier, telling you that this right here was not available, and they had actually even canceled my order and said they weren't going to be able to get it. And I just had this housing only. Well, right after I finished recording, I heard a delivery out front, and a rider had something for me, and I didn't know what it was. And it's the replacement. So this Zyke 1 is not available anymore, but they have a different one. And let me open it up here, I'll show you. So they have this one. Now it's still the same pattern down here, as you see. Still the same pattern. It's got the fittings here. You got the one for your sensor, and this is just the bolt hole through right here, a long bolt. But as you see, this don't come all the way through. because this is just the boss for another bracket or something to go right there. But this is the one I actually wanted because there's some of these lines going to different things that I don't need them anymore. And then what happens on this new one, instead of this housing being oriented like this so they could put this additional neck on here, well, instead it just bolts right flat on the top. I'll get it up here and I'll try to show you. One man show. There you go. And so it still comes out the same direction for the hose. Still comes out the same way. But it's turned straight up. Your thermostat's turned straight up and you don't have all that additional. So I'm so happy to get this. And this one was made for 2 sensors because it was made for that ECM that's no longer on the vehicle, to where I only need the 1 temperature sensor now just for the gauge. So that's also pretty cool. And man, what a relief. So another nice part come in that's going to clean this job up. And here's the new housing. I bolted onto the side of the head. If you only knew the pain in the butt it is to get these things done. This one is actually,
I started it.
well, it's the next size up, it's bigger.
Yeah. Make sure that was there and that. That's what I was just going to say.
This got to stay loose, I can't tighten it yet. This one, right here. Yeah, all that I got to do is the timing duct still. So right now I'm going to get the water pump. So this is the gasket that came with the pump, paper gasket. This is the metal gasket that came with the premium kit, and this is what I want to use. It's going against the brand new housing, it's going against the brand new pump, and this is the quality gasket right here. So I'm not going to use the one that came with the pump because it's just it's probably sufficient, but I'm going to go with a better choice. We'll still probably pull those other two back out if we want. I'm gonna put these in this. I show it again and again around this property. Everything I do all the time, industrial anesthesia. One thing of it will go a long ways because it lasts. You're just using tiny bits at a time. Tiny bits at a time. If I ever have to work on this again, I don't have to worry as much about a old bolt being corroded down in there.
Adjust your torque elbow.
Yeah, I'll get my torque wrench out here in a bit and I'll go over it. I'm just going to snug them right now. Then I'm going to come back and torque them.
And get your little white paint pencil and mark them after you torque them so you know everything's torqued.
Yeah, certified.
Yeah.
Certified.
Little
I did it on this
fingernail
day.
polish.
I did it on, I'm going to put my signature microscopic on it.
Yeah.
The whole name.
You get your little jeweler's glasses on with your little...
Yeah, everything. El Jefe, Jaime, Reyes, Hightower,
El Guapo.
El Guapo.
Oil will run right there from somewhere.
Yeah, that. Just as I turn the block, it comes out. After I get all this done, I'm gonna clean it again with a head on it, mask off a few things, and give it another shot to catch any little surfaces that, you know, that are exposed somewhere and all. I want to keep this housing, I think, just aluminum though, but you know, it's going to turn color over time.
I like it.
So just check all these for snugness again. Just lightly.
I like that aluminum.
But I ordered a can of sealer
Yeah.
that's supposed to protect all this and keep its luster longer.
Uh-huh.
And it protect the paint too and easier to clean it.
Uh-huh.
All right, Cap and I went around, or I did, and he was my assistant and mental support. And torqued these. My mental support was him cringing that I don't over tighten them and snap one of them. They're just 13 pounds, and so I don't have a small torque wrench here. I did try to work down in that low area on it, and could feel I didn't have them over tightened, but I went around and just kind of felt it by hand after that. All right, I'll set it up there and I'll get a pair of channel locks and kind of squeeze it in. Scar the shaft. There we go. There we go. I'll put that first. It'll kind of hold up in there longer than even grease does. Let's see that over there. And it'll keep that from bonding. I'm gonna put more. It's just about seated, ain't it? I think that's it. A little bit.
No, I think it's all the way.
That's it. And then this goes on here after that next keeper's put in, that next key. I probably should have done it the first time. I need to get my glasses, can't see. Things a blur. Now I can see fucking 3D. Gotta slide back that other way. I need to tap it back.
There she goes. Yep.
Part of the way. Down.
Touch that. There you go. Ever so slightly.
That's it. Make sure I didn't make an edge on it nowhere. No, it's all good. All right, so y'all might see the head sitting on here, but this is just temporary, so I could use it here to sit and work and put these seals in. So I put the metal gasket on right here, but I did go ahead and put a little bit of RTV on it, even though you're not required to on a metal gasket. I lightly put it, and just for a little extra assurance, and went ahead and got this torqued down. There's an O-ring that goes in right here, and I need to put that in. I'm about to tape this off right here. And being that this head's bare naked metal right here in the front, and it's got a metal timing belt guard that bolts on back and behind her, I want to go ahead and paint this so it don't get surface rust on it. And so I'm going to tape the end of this camshaft off. Got everything else covered, and I'll do a little painting right here. I'm going to go ahead and paint this piece too, because that metal gasket, I want to cover those edges against corrosion for the future in this salt air. And then afterwards I can peel this off after it dries and knock in the camshaft seal right there. All right, we got the new seal put in, and I taped off pretty much everything pertinent there. That this is mostly for some corrosion rust prevention in the future. Get the paint, make sure I got the right color out. I learned something earlier. I didn't realize that this VHT paint that I ordered here off Lazada is made in the USA. Let's see here. Yeah, look at made in the USA. See right there, Cleveland, Ohio. Check that out. And it's a division of Sherwin-Williams paint. Learned something new. I had no clue. Never seen it in the US before. I hadn't, but it seems to be good stuff, and it's highly revered. So